Have you ever found out the person you trusted most was lying to you? I did, on my 30th birthday, when I died. But that's not the end of my story. When I opened my eyes again, I was 18, back in my parents' house, with my whole life ahead of me. The weird part? My killer was right beside me, smiling like nothing had happened. I knew then that I had been given a second chance, but why? And how could I use this chance to prevent my own death and uncover the truth behind my murder? The first thing I noticed was the eerie silence in the house. My parents were nowhere to be found, and the only sound was the ticking of the old clock in the hallway. I tried to remember the events leading up to my death, but my memories were hazy. All I knew was that I had to be careful and that my killer was still out there, watching me. But how could I stop them when I didn't even know who they were or why they wanted me dead? As I navigated my new life, I started to notice strange things. My killer, who I later found out was my boyfriend, Alex, was acting suspiciously. He would often disappear for hours without explanation, and when I confronted him, he would just smile and tell me not to worry. I knew I had to be careful, but a part of me wanted to trust him. After all, he was the love of my life, or so I thought. I started to investigate my own death, looking for clues and trying to remember anything that could lead me to the truth. I spent hours poring over old newspapers and talking to people who knew me back then. But the more I dug, the more I realized that my life was not what it seemed. I had secrets that could get me killed. And then, there was the mysterious letter I received, warning me to stay away from Alex. Who could have written it, and why? I was determined to find out. As I walked through the city, I couldn't help but feel like I was being watched. Every step I took, every move I made, seemed to be monitored. I quickened my pace, my heart racing with anticipation. Suddenly, I heard footsteps behind me. I spun around, but there was no one there. The streets were empty, except for the sound of my own breathing. I knew then that I had to take action, to protect myself from the unknown danger that lurked in the shadows. As I delved deeper into the mystery of my death, I discovered a web of lies and deceit that surrounded me. Everyone I trusted seemed to be hiding something, and I was no exception. I found out that Alex was not who he claimed to be, and that our entire relationship was a facade. But why? What could he possibly gain from pretending to love me? And what about the others? My parents, my friends, they all seemed to be in on the secret. I felt like I was living in a dream that was slowly turning into a nightmare. I knew I had to keep digging, to uncover the truth behind my death and the secrets that surrounded me. But the more I learned, the more I realized that I was in grave danger. I was playing with fire, and I could get burned at any moment. One wrong move, and I would be dead again. The thought sent shivers down my spine. I was trapped in a game of cat and mouse, where the stakes were my life. And then, I received another letter, this time with a warning: you're getting close to the truth. Back off before it's too late. I knew then that I had to be careful, that I was walking on thin ice. But I couldn't back down, not now. I had to know the truth, no matter the cost. I decided to confront Alex, to demand the truth from him. I knew it was a risk, but I was ready to face whatever came my way. As I stood in front of him, my heart pounding in my chest, I asked him the question that had been haunting me for so long. Why did you kill me? The look on his face was one of shock, of surprise. He didn't expect me to know, to remember. And then, he smiled, a cold, calculated smile. You were getting too close to the truth, he said. You were a threat to my plans, to my future. I felt a wave of anger wash over me, but I kept my cool. I knew I had to stay calm, to think clearly. And then, it hit me, the truth. I remembered everything, every detail, every moment. I knew why I had been killed, and I knew how to stop it from happening again. The game was over, and I had won. But at what cost? As I stood there, facing my killer, I realized that my second chance had come with a price. I had lost my innocence, my trust in others. But I had gained something more valuable, the knowledge of who I was, and what I was capable of. I was no longer the same person, and I was ready to face whatever came next. In the end, I emerged victorious, but scarred. I had faced my killer, and I had won. But the experience had changed me, had made me realize that life was precious, and that every moment counted. I had been given a second chance, and I was determined to make the most of it. As I looked out at the city, I knew that I was ready for whatever came next. I was ready to face the challenges, to overcome the obstacles, and to make my mark on the world. And I knew that no matter what, I would always be grateful for that second chance, for the opportunity to live again, to love again, and to learn again. The city skyline stretched out before me, a reminder of the beauty and the danger that lay ahead. I took a deep breath, feeling the cool breeze on my face, and I smiled. I was alive, and I was ready to take on the world.